You know, I don't think you've really got to know your bike unless you pushed it. I mean, these are just carried for water. These are sacks I bought in India. They were about $20 I bought in an Indian market. I had big orange sacks, the original postal sacks, originally to go all the way to India. But they were probably the same colour as your jacket. So as I was going into Pakistan, and I got this big aluminium box that said, you know, Sydney to London, look, you know, tourist in town. I kind of didn't think that was such a good idea, so I took all that off and bought these in India. And that's what I've travelled with ever since. I like soft luggage. You can easily take it off. You know, it's like a saddlebag on a horse. Just lift it off, take it into your hotel or into your tent at night. Well, that's it. I carry a laptop, camera, change of clothes, tools. I mean, tools are what weigh the most. I like to be as self-sufficient as I can. I mean, especially now with this trip. Now, I did a top-end rebuild and learned how to do that before I set off across America. So I kind of got the idea of valve clearance and clutch adjustment, carburetor settings and things like that. So, I mean, other than a full engine malfunction, I guess I'm pretty much kitted out. And, you know, tyre, inner tube repairs. That was the biggest disaster. The first trip I bought these fancy tyre inflators and all this gear, and I forgot to buy tyre levers. So, punch on day 2, and I was stranded by the side of the road. With no tyre levers, so a guy, an Australian guy called Dave, an old guy, he stopped, said, "What? Hey, you okay?" I said, "Well, no, I'm not getting tyre levers." And so he went and fetched his, and we kind of spent all day nattering and fixing tubes, and he was a good guy, so he taught me a valuable lesson, and that's always to carry tyre levers. There was one time, and you know, sometimes your mind goes, your capacity to do what you need to do goes, and over the Himalayas, it's probably about 17,000 feet. It was probably 5:30 in the evening. On the Himalayas, you have to wade through waterfalls that are from icy cold water, so you're completely soaked and freezing. And you know, it is cold; it's below freezing at night. And I got a puncture at about 17,000 feet, just as darkness was setting in. And I couldn't fathom out how to do it. I kind of lost my ability to fix a puncture. And then this German guy who I'd been riding with, he turned around. He noticed I was missing and came back, and he kind of, we were together, more him, and we kind of managed to do it, but otherwise we'd have been sleeping at sort of 17,000, 18,000 feet, top of the Himalayas. And I don't think neither of us had a tent, so it would have been a cold night. But no, I mean, America I thought was going to be pretty easy, but it wasn't. It was very daunting. It was another spur of the moment decision. People have always said after Sydney to London, what you're going to do next, where you're going to ride next, and I'd always said America, and I kind of got bored of always saying, you know, I'm going to ride America, and it probably dragged on for 2 years, and I think the day just came when I thought, well, if I don't do it now, I'll always be saying, well, I'm going to ride across America, and it'll be one of the things I'll never end up doing. And so I just rode down to Heathrow, knew a cargo company down there, dropped it off with them. All they said was take the front wheel out. They cut down a BMW pallet for a GS with all my gear attached, and then they shipped it out 5 days later. It arrived in JFK, and I picked it up there, and it got this big BMW Motorrad cardboard box framework around it. So you're no, on the first point, labelling. So I get your JFK, and you're there, and somebody gives you a crowbar, and you start crowbarring your sides off, and then you've got this bike, and you're like, holy crap, I'm going to now ride this to San Francisco. Put your fifth wheel in, and BMW working order. And then you set off into Manhattan from JFK. And well, I had a slow front puncture, so that was going flat as I rode. My brake lever had snapped, so I didn't have a front brake. I'd forgot to tighten up the rear axle bolt, so the back wheel was wobbling. So that was kind of my first experience of American highways. I'm wobbling along, flat out, trying to get to Manhattan without being on the freeway. You know, I kind of made it, and then I fixed it up, and I mean, this brake lever is not a proper part, it doesn't activate the light as it should be. And then obviously in Manhattan you've got a bike, and I mean, everybody's got an opinion on which way you should go across America, but which way should you go across America, especially when you can't go on interstates? Oh, and I guess that's took a while to figure it out. I bought a GPS because I thought, well, I don't know how to get out of Manhattan without going on the interstate. I hadn't a clue. So I stayed up all one night, just parked the bike in Manhattan in the side street, sat next to it. It was drizzling and I was sat under a cover, and I waited till about 4 a.m. so I didn't sleep that night. Got my clothes on and my gloves, and that was it. Programmed in GPS. GPS plugs into my cigarette lighter, and set off, and my cigarette lighter stopped working. So it only had half hour's charge. So the GPS got me half hour out of Manhattan before it packed up and left me stranded in New Jersey. That's kind of the biggest disaster, really, because I didn't know where I was. I didn't know where New Jersey was. I got no idea. So I think that's the moments when you think, crap, what am I doing? I think the moment came when I put some fuel in the early afternoon, and it was hot weather, and I put my head down on the bench and I had a little nap, and then I woke up and realised, like, crap, I've got this bike and I'm on my own. There's nobody to ask for help. There's nobody to call. There's nobody going to guide you. There's nobody. I haven't even got a GPS. And they're the times that when you know you're on an adventure. When you know you've taken a big step, you've taken a big fall, and I guess you either curl up in a ball and crouch under a picnic table for the rest of your life, or you get on and start riding, and you're not necessarily sure which way to ride, but you just keep riding. Well, you've got to ride because that's what you're there for. And if you ride west towards where the sun sets, then you eventually get to San Francisco. That's kind of mentality that got me across. I mean, I ended up. The first day I got into New York with a bike. Oops, sorry, there's some more. I missed that. First day I got pulled over by NYPD. He says, you can't ride on that plate. You've got to have a New York plate. So well, I was told I could ride on this plate. He said, well, no, you can't. So you're going to have to go and see the DMV, and they're going to have to tell you what you can do. So I went to see DMV in New York, and he said, no, you're going to have to ship your bike to San Francisco, or you're going to have to ship it out. So as you can imagine, I've just spent £500 or €750 dollars shipping a bike here on the first day, and the authorities told me I can't do it. I mean, obviously I know all the guys who have, but when authority tells you can't do it, you kind of panic. And I mentioned it on ADV Riders. Some of you guys know about ADV Riders. And one of the guys on there called up DMV direct and spoke to somebody else and said that yeah, it was fine. But that kind of gave me the willies. I kind of thought, well, if this is going to happen in New York, where else? It's always going to keep happening. And am I going to be lucky next time when they're going to impound the bike? So that really affected my route across America. I originally wanted to go down to Philadelphia and then Washington, and then maybe pick up the 50 all the way across. But I didn't. I thought, well, Washington and Philadelphia, they're going to be a lot of police there, they're going to get pulled over a lot. So I went into Pennsylvania, where I guess there's not a lot of anything but valleys and trees and nice people. I really enjoyed Pennsylvania, actually. It's probably one of my favourite states. Went up and visited a friend up there who I met through ADV, and I kind of gathered myself at his place in the woods. I had 2 days just to, make sense of it, reorganise, repack, what do I need? I bought a sleeping mat, I bought a tent, a tent, a $20 tent from a discount car shop. Went to Walmart, stocked up, spent like $30 on stuff. Wild. Because just to bear in mind, the budget to get me across America was $600. So that was my travelling budget, just fuel, food, and accommodation. On the trip, Sydney to London, I camped wild all the way through Russia, Kazakhstan, parts of Thailand, Indonesia, Pakistan, India. So I kind of figured I could camp wild in America. I mean, camping wild in America is harder than I imagined because of private land ownership and everywhere's boarded off, everybody's got a fence around it. And you kind of fear that you're going to wake up with a shotgun in your face. And so I slept on a few dry riverbeds and behind, in lay-bys behind the mounds of dirt that border them. And where did I sleep the other night? Oh, behind another mound of dirt. I like mounds of dirt because nobody looks behind mounds of dirt. If they did, the last thing they'd expect to find was like some guy on a bike. So across Pennsylvania, I carried on across there. I really like Pennsylvania. Kind of just friendly. Everybody was curious. You compare it to other parts I passed through where nobody was curious. Nobody wanted to know where you are up to, where you're going, which I think is very strange. You see somebody on a bike like this, it looks a little bit weird, it's talking funny, but nobody wants to know what that was. I'm talking about Kansas. Nobody wants to know.
It's funny, huh?
It's like the outground curtain. Anyway, so Pennsylvania were great. Took me to Detroit. I've been to Detroit before. I wanted to see it again. You know, I wasn't here to rose tint what I was going to see. I liked seeing the reality. Detroit's as real as it gets, I think, for America. And obviously can't take the interstate, so I don't have the luxury of going from Ann Arbor on the interstate to downtown Detroit and missing out the 30 miles of what lies beneath, I guess. So I kind of saw all that, fascinated by it. Kind of puts a twist on what you're seeing. Detroit, I went across to Chicago, came through Gary, Illinois, in East Chicago. 19 shot dead that night. I got there. Again, it's all about perspective. So when you see something like that, you can't just arrive in central Chicago and go, well, this is a great, amazing city, because you've just seen 20 miles of devastation. From there, well, I wanted to do Route 66. Everybody talks about Route 66, but I don't think it's quite as, I don't know, it's more a European thing. Everybody wants to do Route 66 in Europe. So I thought, well, down from Chicago, I'll take Route 66 to St. Louis, and Route 66 to St. Louis is boring. There's nothing there. It's a road with every so often there's a sign to like an old town. You can turn off and you realise there's nothing there, so you get back on the road and carry on to St. Louis. And that goes on for 500 miles, and then you get to St. Louis. And I like St. Louis. The police there were incredibly friendly when they pulled me over. I pushed the bike through the security gate at the gateway off and pushed it onto the mound at the top. So I'm taking photos, and when two very polite gentlemen who were very strong came and wanted to know what I was doing, and obviously, warned me.